Dear student, I am Dr. Prakash Mungli, Professor of Biochemistry. So, in this chapter of Catabolism of Amino group nitrogen, so I will be going over nitrogen balance. Now, let's get into see what is actually a nitrogen balance and what are the different conditions in this nitrogen balance. Let's get into the details. About 1 to 2% of our body proteins undergo turnover every day. So in that, about 80% of the amino acids are recycled, and the average lifespan of amino acids in the plasma, it is around 5 minutes, and the total amino acid pool in our cell's cytoplasm is 100 grams. And most of these amino acids from amino acid pool goes into new protein synthesis and special product formation, and only about 30 grams of amino acids are catabolized in our body. Now the slide here, it shows how amino acids are getting into the amino acid pool and how amino acids are going out of the amino acids pool and what is the approximate amount. Now, total body protein amino acid degradation in a 12 kg protein in 70 kg person, a 70 kg individual will have around like 12 kgs of protein, and in that, so body protein degradation per day, it is 400 grams, and the dietary protein that gets into our body, which is around 55 grams per day. And the non-essential amino acids that are getting into our body can vary. It's a variable amount of non-essential amino acids. So out of this, a new protein synthesis on daily basis is 400 grams per day, which is equivalent to the amount of body protein that is degraded. So that equals that. 400 grams of protein is degraded per day in the body, and 400 grams of proteins are synthesized per day. Coming to amount of special product synthesis coming from amino acids are around 30 grams per day. And see, there is a dietary protein which is getting into our body is about 55 grams. Special product synthesis is 30 grams per day. And the total amount of nitrogen that will be lost out of our body, this is the net loss of amino group nitrogen out of our body, which is equal to around 30 grams per day. Alright, so only the amino group of an amino acid will be excreted as urea, whereas the carbon skeleton of an amino acid, either it will be converted to glucose by gluconeogenesis or it will be converted into ketone bodies. So it means only the nitrogen is the one that is getting out of our body in the form of urea, and that amounts to 30 grams of nitrogen that is going out of our body per day. Now coming to nitrogen balance. Because the dietary proteins are an important source of nitrogen, and 16% of protein it contains nitrogen. That means in 100 grams of proteins, around 16 grams of nitrogen is present. That amounts to 16%. And the amount of nitrogen that is getting into our body should be almost equals to the amount of nitrogen that should leave our body. That means in an healthy adult, a nitrogen intake should be almost equal to nitrogen excretion. And the major nitrogen product that is getting into our body, it is the nitrogen that is present in the protein in the form of amino acid. So protein, that is the 16% of nitrogen, protein carries 16% of nitrogen, and the nitrogen that is coming in should be equal to the nitrogen that is going out. And the nitrogen that major nitrogen is excreted product of our body, it is urea, and urea has 2 nitrogen in it. Okay, so the amount of nitrogen that is coming in should be equal to amount of nitrogen that goes out. That is what is seen in adults, which is referred as nitrogen balance. Now in negative nitrogen balance, what happens? The amount of nitrogen that is coming in will be less than the amount of nitrogen that is being excreted. That means, see, the proteins are undergoing a degradation. Protein degradation is going on here. That means nitrogen from the protein is going out in the urine as urea, and urea levels in the urine will be increased. That is what is referred as negative nitrogen balance condition. So the negative nitrogen balance conditions are generally seen in catabolic states, like in chronic diseases or in starvation, where there is increase in the catabolic hormones like glucagon or cortisol. This is a corticosterol, or where there is a stress. So all that kind of catabolic hormones is going to lead to protein breakdown, and the carbons of proteins will be converted to glucose, and the nitrogen of a protein will be converted to urea, and the urea will be excreted. So under catabolic conditions or negative nitrogen balance conditions, there will be glucose intolerance and excess urea will be found in the urine. Coming to positive nitrogen balance condition, in positive nitrogen balance condition, amount of nitrogen that is getting into our body will be more than the amount of nitrogen that is going out of our body as urea. That means more nitrogen is retained in our body. So the positive nitrogen balance conditions are where there is increased protein synthesis going on, like during pregnancy, during childhood, growth and development going on, and also recovery from illness, recovery from starvation, and things like that, and also bodybuilding. So these are some of the positive nitrogen balance conditions. Now let's look at like catabolism of amino group nitrogen. Amino acids contributes to only 5 to 10% of total energy needs of the body. Otherwise, a body will get energy mainly from carbohydrate stores in our body, and that is glycogen and the glucose. And the other important source of energy for our body is the lipids, especially the triacylglycerol, which is stored in the adipose tissue. So in that sense, proteins which contains amino acids are not really the primary source of energy for our body. So the main functions of amino acids in our body is to make a special products and also to build essential proteins for the normal metabolism and cellular functions. And when just in case, like especially during catabolic conditions, when there is a negative nitrogen balance, when a amino acid is catalyzed, or means when a protein breaks down, when individual amino acids are released, and when these amino acids are catabolized, I am going to write down the structure of amino acids so that we will understand what is the carbon skeleton, where is the amino group and all that. So here is the alpha carbon, and it has got carboxylic group, primary carboxyl group, and it has got a primary amino group, that is NH3 plus, and the side chain I will write it as CH3, and the amino acid that I have written here is alanine. Now when the alanine undergoes degradation, a carbon skeleton is separated from the amino group. So I am going to separate a carbon skeleton by boxing it separately. Okay, here is the carbon skeleton. So when the amino group is separated from the carbon skeleton, so this amino group is diverted into urea, it is directed into urea formation. We are going to see how exactly the amino group from an amino acid is transported from our peripheral cells all the way to the liver, and how that amino group is separated and how it will go into urea formation. So all that we are going to understand. Okay, this is just a big picture that I am explaining here. So that's about the amino group, alpha amino group going into urea formation, whereas the carbon skeleton now, which I have boxed with the blue color, this will go into glucose formation in gluconeogenesis, or it will go into ketone formation. So these are two fates of carbon skeleton. Either it will go into glucose formation or it will go into ketone body formation or both. There are some amino acids which will make both glucose and ketone bodies also. So this is what happens to a entire amino acid skeleton there. Carbon skeleton is handled separately, and the amino group is undergoing a transfer process all the way to the liver, either by transamination or direct transfer in the form of glutamine. So, and then it will be going into urea formation, and urea is excreted in the urine. So this is how the process goes on, and that is what is shown here also. As you can see, amino group which is released as ammonium ion, and that goes into urea cycle, whereas the carbon skeleton will go into either citric acid cycle or glucose formation and the ketone body formation. So that's all about catabolism of amino group nitrogen and nitrogen balance. I hope this small introduction to this chapter helps you to build up the concept and understand the forthcoming topics. Thank you.